The mighty ferry swordfish, a remarkable plane really, was an outdated design by the start of the war, but stayed in service longer than two of its replacements. Yeah, and the swordfish killed a bunch of like really important ships, didn't they? Like I think the Bismarck was a swordfish casualty. So I'm not going to get heavy tanks until 41, which is the Churchill. I see that the Vickers is still absolute garbage in comparison. Defense is slightly lower. Hardness is the same. Armor is still 70. They cost a small fortune. Soft attack is really low. Piercing. It's the piercing where they differ. Heavy tank piercing are good anti-armor, whereas these ones are junk. But they do give you a big boost to armor. But would it be as big a boost as having, say, a Matilda? 15 versus 70. That's a yes. Although Matildas are quite significantly cheaper. Alright, other question. Normal tank versus the tank destroyer. Tank destroyer has the same armor. These guys make up for their lack of piercing with piercing. So we're going to go with the early heavy tank destroyers, which I will need to research. In fact, let's change you to doing that so we can get those going as soon as possible. I think I prefer that plan. However, I cannot yet build any tanks. I don't think there's any point build. Well, do I want motorized forces to help defend France? No, I don't think so. I'm spending enough on just getting heavy tanks early. So no, I'm not. Light AA, I'm going to rely on my own air force. We are going to build field guns. We're going to get a small number of motorized for support purposes, but we're not going to build motorized forces. And then small arms and support equipment. Stop making me go all the way to the bottom. We do want to have a lot of artillery, because we are going to superior firepower. Do something like that. Decisions. Withdraw from naval treaties, Burma Road. Decisions don't seem to have changed massively. Oh, you get free anti-air in the Greater London area for political power and telephones. That's pretty good, and you can also get some extra resources. After you get excavation technologies, this is a good way of doing it. I like this. This is how Kaiserreich should do it too. Locking them behind excavation. That's smart. And then nation building. Okay, cool. Heavies are always decent for defense but trash for attacking early on, plus the cost is big. Yeah, I realise. I'm using the heavy pierce partially so I can actually fight the German tanks. And also you need less heavy tank destroyers in a company than you need heavy tanks, which means they're actually cheaper. Just. Is France worth defending? Yeah, I would say so. At least for a while.
Ready to move! Commands! All in!
Are there new experience ranks? What are these? Level 11.
Attention!
Level 8.
Orders!
Sweet. Okay, I kind of like that.
Ready to move!
And then we're going to have to deal with our colonial armies too, which we'll deal with in a moment. Ships. Why do I feel like the UK starts with even more ships than in Manila? Let's get you all to go home and we'll sort you out from there. Do you want some help or am I learning my own? Can explain the ranks if you want. I suspect each rank is like 5% effectiveness rather than 25 from base. Alright, so all the factories are done. Ships. I have not yet arranged my ships. So I'm just going to minimize this because I want to organize you by when you're going to get launched. See, these are going to get done sooner. So I just want to get as many ships built as quickly as possible. March, March, March. 31st of March, 36. 36. August. August. October, October 38. Okay, that will do. And we'll slowly but surely get everything built. Finally, I just want to make sure that we have as many shipyards dedicated to repair as possible. Now we do. Alright, speed up. Now watch as everything crashes and burns. Right, the other thing I could do is start aircraft training. Well, we've got my entire navy at sea right now. So oil supplies are going to be a little bit of an issue. Rank 10 is the old rank 3 from base game, but if you were rank 9 you'd have a better bonus than being the old rank 2. Yeah, that's what I assumed. It makes the ranks easier to go between ranks and you can see more effect from actually gaining experience over time. And every one of these has 5 levels associated, as opposed to just 1. Probably waiting for the colonials still. We are. Looks like Britain has a lot more aircraft carriers than standardly. Maybe not. It's a shame England's one of the least touched countries in Road to 56 because its vanilla focus tree is so gosh darn well made. I do quite like the base one. Okay, so 240 screens and 36 capitals. I'm wondering how I'm going to train this, because I do want to see them trained up, especially the battleships. And the battle cruisers. And we're probably also going to want to do some refits and stuff, but I'm not going to touch that until we've gotten through more of these. Okay. We are still gaining a bit of oil. So we could actually have a couple more ships training. Let's say the carriers can go. King George V dies. His Majesty George V, King of the United Kingdom and his British dominions, and the Emperor of India, has passed away. His quiet, calm, and devotion to his subjects saw the empire through both the Great War and the Great Depression. His son will assume the mantle as King Edward VIII, but there's already concerns that he will be too independent of thought. Stanley Baldwin and Neville Chamberlain are preparing to ensure that he will accept direction from the Prime Minister and the Cabinet. Now we're losing oil, though only just. And some of these guys, which are already fairly well trained, aren't going to take a very, very long time. One thing we should do is say automatic split off if you get damaged. So I'm just going to say that for this whole fleet. Just set that as the setting. Do we have... Oh, right. The other thing we need to do is assign where these guys are going to be. So we've got our Egypt Corps, which is going to be in a new theatre. We've got you lot. Hello, can you go away?
Fall in!
You lot can be assigned to that.
Fall in!
You lot can be assigned to that. Better.
Come
Malta. Gibraltar. Ceylon probably wants to go with the Malaysia garrison. And Singapore. And then Hong
Ready,
Kong,
sir!
we're going to leave alone. We're just going to send you down here. So this is going to be Malaysia.
Attention!
This is going to be Gibraltar.
Ready to move!
Malta. And
Listen
then
up.
Egypt. Now, how many division types do we have? Just these. I'm going to make you something more obvious. Slightly too big for my
Attention.
interests.
Ready to move! Yes, sir!
Okay. Good. I'm guessing they can't go any higher than this. So if they've finished their training, they go in there. Which means we can bring in the next group of these. Which is all of my heavy cruisers, apparently. Can do some funky things with Luxembourg if you manage to take out Belgium and the Netherlands. Why would you want to do that, though? Grr. Huzzah! Right, I think it's time to get all of the light cruisers out. And send them out to get trained as well. May as well merge these all together. Garius, thank you very much for the Twitch Prime subscription. Very much appreciate that, thank you. Been following you a lot on Twitter actually recently. Very interesting stuff. British politics never fails to entertain. I say with a sigh of depression. Okay, so we could take on the balanced approach, which would give us more stability. I mean, I think I eventually want to get individual rights, so I'm not going to get a focus just yet. Or a political thing just yet. Oh, these guys are done. Yeah, gaming is more fun. I'd agree with that. I would definitely agree with that. The Adventure class, mine layer. Might need to build a couple more of those. I've actually been slightly more impressed by the utility of mines in the Italy game, because it helped me lock down the Mediterranean. And I think we also need to create different variants for screen destroyers and escort destroyers, because they play two very different roles. But thankfully, due to the nation we are playing, we should have a whole bunch of naval experience, so we should have a lot of opportunities at our fingertips. Let's actually send you to train up as well. I don't know that training up a mine layer is necessarily going to do very much for us, but hey, we'll do it anyway. Remilitarization of the Rhineland. Several German divisions recently advanced into the Rhineland, marking the first time since the end of the Great War that Germany has forces positioned west of the Rhine. This is in clear violation of the Versailles Treaty, under which Germany is forbidden from militarizing the region. The French seem content to limit their response to this breach to diplomatic objections, and public opinion in Britain is firmly against war. And we have finished the limited rearmament. We need to have at least 5% world tension. What are we at? 2. Well, in that case, I guess we'd better start reinforcing the Empire. As I can't do any of the other stuff yet. Our empire is vast, and despite our power weakly defended. To combat this, we need to encourage imperial patriotism throughout the realm. Germany has stationed troops in the Rhineland territory, close to the French border, in a clear violation of the Treaty of Versailles. The local population cheered the German soldiers on, while the diplomatic reactions from France and Britain so far have been muted. It is no more than the Germans walking in their own backyard, a political commentator in Britain observed. Melting Pot Social Order is a really good one for the early and mid-left game. Which one's that? Ah, here. Population goes up, stability goes down, infrastructure and civilian factory goes up. Yep, that is a good one. Interesting. And these work in the same way as vanilla, so you can just skip the levels. Definitely prefer Kaiserreich's way of handling that. Oh, still not trained. It's actually taking slightly longer than I expected. Don't you start off with free oil from Mexico and Iran in this, with the potential to lose said oil in Road to 56? Yes, I think so. Yeah, see, we're getting Mexican oil a bit. Not sure about Iranian. Oh yeah, we are getting Iranian. Interesting. Assuming Germany is the easiest faction to play, how difficult is the UK? I have no idea, Zookeeper. This is literally the first time I've even loaded up 56. Actually, that's not true. I loaded it up once just to make sure it works, but this is the first time I've actually unpaused the game. So this is all new to me.
Yes, sir!
Okay, so these guys are all almost ready training, which is good. Oh, we have a decision. Bet this is the London Naval Treaty. Yeah, I'm definitely not withdrawing from that. It's named after my capital, after all. We could start giving refuge to the scientists, giving us some more research speed. And the earlier we do that, the more we benefit, especially in this, where there's a lot of research. Do it.
Ready to move!
Soviet Union is extremely debuffed early on, like it makes the vanilla purge look like a buff. That certainly sounds like a big debuff. Revolutionized industry, consumer goods factories up, research down, factory output up. Port rail network, mobilization way down, infrastructure down. Risk of disease, population's actually decreasing, interesting. Low literacy, research even further down, production efficiency down. Home of the revolution, surrender limit goes up. And Trotskyite plot, stability down. Yeah, okay, that's a lot of negatives. That's definitely a couple. Basic machine tools. So now we're going to go concentrated industry. Have these changed at all? No. Whenever I play France in this mod, I manage to push Germany to the Rhine, then get pushed back. You mean pushing them early on? I mean, that's quite impressive on its own.
Commands! Commands! Yes, sir!
Oil supplies are just about to run out.
Ready to move!
So we may need to tell some of these guys to stop drilling. Because even though I could continue without fuel, I hate doing that because it feels so icky. Did that help? Not really. Second London Naval Treaty has been signed. Delegations from Britain, France, Italy, Japan and the US met in December of 1935 to discuss a renewal of the First London Naval Treaty, which restricted the number and size of cruisers and submarines. Negotiations turned quite heated over Italy's war in Ethiopia and Japan's desire to be seen as equal to to Britain and the US. With negotiations now at an end, the signatory nations have agreed on limits to the size of battleships and aircraft carriers in the hopes of preventing another ruinous arms race. Okay, now we're actually gaining. Not very quickly, but we are gaining some. Popular Front victory in France. The Front Populaire, a political alliance made up of a large part of the French left-wing movements, including the SFIO, the Radical Party and the Communist Party, won the French legislative elections with 57% of the votes. Many strikes have been organised in support of the front. Léon Blum, the leader of the SFIO, was appointed Prime Minister. Their programme is built around the defence of democracy, in particular through the opposition to the far-right leagues. Their pacifism and implementation of many social reforms, such as paid holidays, as well as the desire to revive the economy by developing consumption. Developing consumption? That doesn't sound very leftist. France has enough troops with Daladier that if you force Germany to back down from Rhineland, you can push their forces pretty quickly. Interesting. Yeah, we're playing historical, so France is not going to be very strong early. Which is one of the reasons I'm investing so much in upgrading my fleet. The Empire has successfully been reinforced. We can't possibly lose. Well, tension's still at 2%, so nothing more I can do there. So let's get service overseas. Which will then allow me to get the colonial elite, and then start building up my colonies. By rotating armed forces personnel to the colonial stations and back home again, they can learn about conditions on the different fronts, gain experience and share it to their comrades back home. Developing consumption as in the illness. That's what I immediately thought of when I was saying that. Ah! Heavy tank. Good, but before we go any further, I want to get the tank destroyer variant, and then we can start producing those. And then the other thing was production. It's still May 36. I feel like we probably could do with having some Marines around. Also, we need to start working on the doctrines. Speaking of not being very good, you guys are trained.
Ready, sir.
Start you lot training.
Attention.
Instead. Still have 190 ships that need repair training. See if we can get the heavy cruisers. Can we afford those? So far, yes. Yes, we can. Good. How's the production? Okay, so we're on to the last 3 ships now. And they'll all be done in 2 months. 2 to 3 months. When are we taking Ireland? We're not. We're gonna try to help France out. I don't know for sure how successful it will be. But we will certainly try. Ooh. Wow, okay. Edward VIII abdication crisis. For some time, King Edward VIII has entertained hopes to marry the American Wallis Simpson. A constitutional crisis has now arisen, as Mrs. Simpson is not only divorced from her previous husband, but in point of fact still married to her current husband, presently pursuing a second divorce. General outrage has ensued on the grounds that, as king and being the head of the Church of England, Edward cannot marry a divorcee. The king, however, has made it abundantly clear that he is very much in love with Mrs. Simpson, and intends to marry her regardless of the opinions of his government or his subjects. As such, there are only 3 options remaining open to him. The British government and the governments of the Dominions have already stated that any alternative to abdication would be unacceptable, and the repercussions for trying to force through a marriage, even an attempted compromise, would likely be dire, but not only for Britain herself, but also for its ties to the Commonwealth. As the King's closest advisers continue their attempts to convince him, the public awaits with bated breath the resolution of this conflict between the King and his cabinet. He's got to go. Meanwhile, superior firepower has finished level 1, so let's start working on delay. We're not going to be going for a Queen Simpson.